What's up, internet? It's been a long time. Let me just turn off this noise. So, life happened and I didn't have time to make videos. But so here we are. Last time I was building a workbench. Actually, the workshop starting to look like an actual workshop. This is basically work area number 1. Then we have another working area over here. This is mostly for motorcycles. Then upstairs, lots of storage. We filled it up pretty quickly actually, it's kind of full. So what about this new car? And why is it not a Citroën? In the last episode, like a year ago, I said the daily driver, the Citroën C5, it cannot break down. The daily driver, it cannot break down. Well, it broke down. So I bought this car as a spare just in the meantime while I was fixing the daily driver. And it was very cheap. It's a Renault Clio from 1996, I believe. And so I used that for a while, but now the C5's on the road again. So that's now again my daily driver. What's the plan for this car then? So I shared this workshop with 2 other people. So it's the 3 of us here. And we decided to split the costs among the 3 of us and keep this car running. Just to keep it around as a spare car. Because, you know, we already have it. And yeah. We're just gonna fix it up a little bit and then we have a spare car. So it needs some work, but it's not too bad. So mainly the brakes need a good check over, and I think there's a rubber boot from the steering rack torn, something like that. The biggest issue though is that the head gasket is blown. When the engine gets up to temperature, it actually pressurizes the cooling system, and if you open the reservoir, it actually bubbles a lot of air through the cooling system. So I'm pretty sure the head gasket is blown. So yeah, so that's what we're gonna work on right now. First step is to take the head off the block and then see how bad the damage is. So let's get into it. So where do we start? Let's disconnect the battery first. There we go. So yeah, I think the airbox is a pretty good place to start. Oh, that was not very tight. Let's see, throw a cable. I only made a small mess. will leak oil. Oh, it moved. Oh my god. Oh, it moves. Oh my god. The heat shield is so rusty. The nut wasn't even holding it anymore. Ja, zeker. Ja, lekker.
Lekker biertje, voor je altijd. Jocko leeft niet meer, hè?
Nee, ik hoor het, ja.
So at this point we were playing music in the background, so I can't use that audio on YouTube because I will get destroyed by copyright strikes. So when removing the exhaust manifold, some of the studs came out with the nut. So right here I'm removing the nut from the stud, and I will put the studs back in the head later. After removing the exhaust manifold, I vacuum the head to make sure no dirt gets into the cylinders. The fuel lines were clamped on with these non-reusable clips, which I really dislike, so I just tear them off here and I will replace them with proper hose clamps later. Sometimes there is a bit of fuel pressure left in the system, so I was ready for leaks, but the car was standing still for long enough that there was no fuel pressure left. So out of habit I always plug up the intake, just to make sure no dirt or nuts or bolts can fall into the cylinders. Here I'm just removing all the vacuum lines and all the coolant lines that are attached to the intake manifold. And now it's time to remove the intake manifold itself. For some of the nuts there was not enough room to get a ratchet on there, so I'm using a wrench with a pipe on it to get a little bit more leverage. And there we go, that's the intake manifold removed. And there goes the distributor. So now it's time to remove the engine mount so I can get access to the timing belt. So first I put a jack under the sump and then I can safely remove the engine mount. Next up I loosen the power steering pump so I can remove the belt. And I loosen the alternator as well so I can remove that belt also. In this case it was easier to remove the wheel so I can get better access to the alternator. So it's a fresh new day. Let's start with the rocker cover. This small bracket that holds the airbox is in the way, so let's get rid of that. So I take out the spark plugs, and that's all I have time for this day. So I checked the repair manual to see if I've missed any steps. And sure enough, it says I have to drain all the coolant from the block. And there's this small drain plug on the back of the block. So with the coolant drained, no mess this time, I can start taking off the head. So the repair manual says you have to break the head loose first by moving it sideways. This is to prevent the cylinder linings from coming up with the head, because they might not seal again at the bottom. In this case the head was pretty stuck on there, so I used some appropriate violence and then it came right off.
So after looking at the head, it doesn't look like there's any major damage. It does look like the head gasket has been leaking between cylinder number 4 and a coolant channel. And actually in that area there was some pitting, some corrosion that caused some pitting to happen. So we weren't quite sure if it would be possible to fix it. But actually I've got it back from the repair shop already. There's something very pleasing about a freshly machined head. It's very nice. It's actually the damage here. It's been welded up and then machined again. Actually, it's very smooth. You can't feel any imperfections over there. So actually very nice job. So next up, we're going to put the head back on the engine along with a whole bunch of new, fresh, crispy parts, and then trying to get the engine running again. So if you're up for seeing more of that, maybe subscribe, and I'll see you next time.